Just in my opinion, the comments that you see here by Paul George are disturbing to me and very, very alarming because when I think about what he's saying, he's not worried about the losing. Of course, they want to win these games, but, what I'm saying, it's too early in the season to really basically judge. And, that's not the mindset right now that he's in. And that's the problem that I have with players like Paul George, because, see, when we talk about things like this is what we call having a sense of urgency. You got to have a sense of urgency when you want to be a winner, when you want to be a champion. This is why I said, Paul George has been having a good year this year so far. He's been playing very well. But see, this is no surprise. Paul George has played very well several years. He played well in OKC, an MVP caliber type, player in OKC with Russell Westbrook. But the problem is the reason why he's not a winner because he doesn't have the mindset of a winner. And these comments right here speak on exactly why he hasn't won anything in the league, or he hasn't even been close to winning, because he's just a stat guy. And this is the problem I've always had with Paul George. He's got all the talent in the world, and he's one of the top players in the world to me. He's a top 10 player when he's right, if you ask me. But top 10, top 15 player when he's right. But either way, his winning intangibles aren't there. And this is why I said you can't have this type of mindset when you want to win. As I said before, these games that they're losing against the Brooklyn Nets, against the Knicks, these games are going to come back to hurt the Clippers in the near future when it comes playoff time or near playoff time, and you got to try to make a run to get into playoffs or fight for your life trying to get out of a play-in tournament, in which that's where the Clippers might find themselves ended up if they don't find a way to get better and win games. Because like I said, when you think about the Knicks, and when you think about the Brooklyn Nets, the Clippers should have beat them off of talent alone. I'm not sitting there saying they should beat them, I'm not sitting there saying that they should beat them because they're so cohesive and they have so much chemistry. You don't need chemistry to beat teams like that. You really don't. Only thing you need is the talent that you have. There's a lot of teams that win off of their talent more than the chemistry. When you think about the Miami Heat back in the day with the big three, LeBron, D Wade, and Bosh, the problem was they couldn't stop Dirk in the finals, but at the same time, they made it to the NBA finals. You see what I'm saying? And in the regular season, they were hell against a lot of teams because they didn't have all the continuity, but they had all the star power. They had all the talent. So the talent overrided what other teams did and counteracted against them when they played them. And that's the reason why they found themselves making it to an NBA finals. And for the Clippers team, for their sake, they got to hope that they make it to the NBA finals, because otherwise it would just be a complete failure. But if the Clippers are going to win anything, all the players on the team going to have a different mindset. They're going to have the mindset of a Kawhi Leonard. See, Kawhi has the mindset of every game counts. Every game he steps on the floor, he wants to win. If he's not hurt, if he's out there, he wants to win that game. He wants to be the victor at the end of the game. And it's like Paul George is talking more leisure, like, oh, I'm not really worried about it, this and that. But you will worry about it if your team falls in the play-in tournament, or if one of you guys get hurt, or if it's another failed season. The Clippers fans have to sit there and make excuses for you again. You will be worried about it then. You will be worried about it if, you don't make the finals bare minimum and this whole thing has been a failure and you've been a part of it. And that's the reason why I never been the biggest Paul George fan, because I don't like his mindset. I don't really like what he's made of. I do like his game in regards to his game being flashy. He's a smooth scorer. He can definitely stroke that three. He definitely has a nice, game, offensive game. And his defense, is pretty decent at times as well. It's been good for years, actually. But my point is, the reason why he's never been a favorite player of mine is because, like I said, he don't have the mindset of a winner. I like guys who like to win. I like guys who have the mindset of the sense of urgency is there every time I step on the floor. And when you look at Kawhi Leonard, and when you focus on Kawhi Leonard, he plays with that type of sense of urgency every time he's on the floor. He may not be healthy all the time, but when he is on the floor, he expects to win. He expects to be the victor and expect to beat whoever's right in front of him. And that's what great players are supposed to do. And that's the reason why Kawhi is the best player on the team. And it doesn't matter what Paul George does. Paul George can score a whole lot of points, but he scored points before. But what's scoring points when you don't do it in the playoffs? What's scoring points when you don't do it when you need to? What's hitting free throws when you don't hit free throws when you need to? See what I'm talking about? See, that's that lack of sense of urgency that Paul George has demeans his game at times, because like I said, when you have a winning mentality, it's every opponent is the same. Every opponent is standing in your way. Every opponent is the opposition, and everybody has to go down. And that's the way you have to approach every game. You don't approach every game just putting up stats and points. And that's all Paul George is about: putting up stats, putting up points, looking good. But he doesn't have that winning intangible about him. And that's the reason why I said he never really been a favorite player of mine. He's a top 10, top 15 player when he's right, but he's never been one of my favorite players. I mean, me personally, I would personally take Russ's mindset over Paul George. And I personally think honestly, at times, I think they would be better at times if Russ was if Russ was still in his prime or a few years ago, they would be better with Russ being the number 2 guy than Paul George, because Paul George just doesn't have the mindset of a winner, and that lack of sense of urgency that he has, it only is going to hurt the team long run. Because see, when you look at Paul George, a lot of shots that he takes in games, a lot of those are bad shots. When they're falling, they're good, but when they're not falling, he really hurts the team. And when you think about this team winning a championship, they need everybody to be on one accord and efficient as possible. And when you talk about efficiency, you don't have to worry about that with Kawhi. Kawhi is always usually very efficient when he shoots. When you see Kawhi not being efficient on the court, you wonder what's going on with him, because you're so used to him being efficient, having good shooting nights, being consistent, and it just goes a long way. And that's why I said that's what makes him one of the top players in the league, because his consistency, his dedication, and that feel you have when he's on your team, you got a chance to win a championship. And like I said, Paul George needs to get on board with the winning mentality, not just going out there scoring, putting up points, because all the points he's putting up, I mean, the Clippers are still in the hole. The Clippers are still losing. So it's not like he's putting up all these points and the Clippers are winning. You see what I'm saying? Their record is still 3-4, 3-5. They're still they're still at a disadvantage, even with all the points he's putting up. So I'm gonna need Paul George to understand it's not really about you going out there putting up points, killing every single opponent. It's about going out there winning these games and putting yourself in position to win a championship. And to me, he just doesn't have the right mindset. And like I said, I personally like Russell Westbrook's mindset a lot more than I like, Paul George's. And I think that, if they end up putting Russ or taking Russ and putting him on the bench, I really think that's going to hurt the team's chemistry a lot more if they insert James Harden in the starting lineup. And I think that's exactly what the direction that Ty Lue was going to go, because why'd they go through all this loops and channels to get James Harden when he's a drama queen, when he's a diva, and he's somebody who's going to ruin your organization because he doesn't have that sense of urgency as well. And that's the reason why I said guys that don't have that sense of urgency, you don't need them when you're trying to win championships. You really don't. And that's why I said, me personally, and I'm going as far as saying this, I personally think Kawhi Leonard, if he was going to go to the Clippers, they should have kept Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with Kawhi Leonard, or not with him, but they should have kept SGA and Kawhi go to the Clippers. And I guarantee you, I think they would have made it a lot further, or possibly made it to a finals by now with somebody like him, the way he done developed and turned into a player that wants to win, that has that, I can tell in his game he wants to win. He has that sense of urgency, and he's just not in the situation for him to do that, even though OKC is getting better. So I mean, honestly, that mentality Paul George has, he could score all the points he wants. I don't really particularly care, because scoring points don't help you win. Obviously, that's the reason why the Clippers are playing less than 500 basketball. So I mean, it's not about scoring points. It's about beating your opponent. It's about being the best team on the floor. It's about dominating when you're supposed to, and it's about beating the teams you're supposed to beat when you face inferior competition or lesser competition like the Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets. And the Brooklyn Nets, I don't even think they had Cam Johnson and a couple of their other starters, and they still beat you. They still out-rebounded you, and the Knicks still out-rebounded you, and they made you look like trash. And you got 4 stars on the court, and why the hell is James Harden laughing in the post game like everything is fine? Nothing's fine. You guys just lost to one of the worst teams in the NBA, or projected to be one of the worst teams in the NBA, and you're sitting here talking about, oh, we'll figure it out, this and that. Listen, yeah, of course they'll figure it out, but these losses do hurt, and you have to have a sense of urgency when you go out there and play these these teams. It's got to be, magnified on defense and let the offense find itself. That's exactly how the Clippers are going to have to play these games, because they don't have chemistry. They don't have any of that right now. So your talent is going to it should override some of the competition that you're playing, because now tonight you got to play the Dallas Mavericks, and they're rolling, they're cooking right now. So you're going to have to come out there and not only play with a sense of urgency, you got to find a way to get a win, because 3 losses in a row against teams that they should beat, maybe besides the Lakers, even though I think the Clippers still should have beat the Lakers, but they had the better team. But even still, you're on a 3-game losing streak, and everybody's acting like it's not something to worry about. Yes, it is. Don't act like it's too early in the season, because every game counts, especially when you don't want to find yourself in the play-in tournament at the end of the season. But hey, that's my take on everything. Leave any comments, and we'll talk about it.